there, you special little sausage, and welcome to a trench line held by the Space Marines. But they are about to take on the might of an ORK war. Now, we've got an interesting setup here today. On the far left of the screen are Space Marines holding that section of the line. However, closer to us here on the right-hand side, we've actually got a bunch of Kriegers. So the question becomes, can the Kriegers hold the flanks while the Space Marines deal with the main ORK war? Or will a greenskin tide consume all in its path? But before we do kick off today's battle, I just firstly want to say thank you for watching the video. And if you do enjoy this content and find yourself coming back here on the regular and you're not subscribed, why the heck not? You're already coming back here. So click that little button down below, it really helps out the channel. But with all that being said, get on with today's battle. Alright then, ladies and gents, this one should be a really interesting one here. The Space Marines are heavily outnumbered along with the Kriegers by their side. And will the Kriegers even be able to hold that flank? It's going to be a horrible situation if the Orcs break through it, but I already love this. Bolt of fire strafing across the battlefield here, whacking right into the front ranks of them Orky lads as they try to surge their way forward. A couple of them have been met by the Iron Hands here. Plunging forward, not plouging, I don't know what a plouge is, we'll figure that one out later, but plunging forward here, right into the Orky horde. Look at all that backup fire there, wonderful, glorious bolter rounds exploding in the Orky faces. Now, I'm interested to see what happens down the centre. In the centre, the Sons of Dawn have taken up the mantle of defence over here, bolstering the defence with their Terminator suits. You can see they're already pushing out, taking the Ork horde on right on head on. Now, interestingly, the Space Marines aren't like the Kriegers. The Space Marines have decided that the trench line isn't really for defending. It's actually here to be used as a ditch just to prevent the enemy from getting to them, so they can level down that heavy bolt of fire. But my god, that's a lot of Orcs. And look at our Sons of Dawn on the front line here, just absolutely smishing anything that comes into contact with them. Them gigantic power swords cleaving through the Orky hordes. We've got a lot of Storm Boys on the front line and a lot of choppers at the moment, and they're all getting cleft in twain. Meanwhile, bolt of fire is coming up from the return lines. Now, let's go have a look at the Krieger side of the field over here, because the Orcs have actually made some advances here over this side. They've managed to push all the way up to the trenches, where the Kriegers have got a bunch of shovel troops in there, trying to push forward and prevent that from happening. The Kriegers really like their trench lines here, and look at this. This is just a brutal fight we got going on. But sadly, the shovels are no match for the brutish strength of the Orcs here. So the Kriegers instead bring numbers and halbore rifles. So you can see the last fire just zipping through the Orc ranks, causing lots of losses there. The halbore rifles having a charge up feature. So they're able to charge up the shot and almost discharge the entire mag in a single shot, which just annihilates almost anything in its path. You know, unless it's a Space Marine. But Orcs, yes. Orcs tend to fall to that kind of firepower. But on the greater flank, the Orcs here looking like they're having some success, using their numbers to try and push around the main defensive line. So you can see that the Kriegers have actually chosen this split in the trench line here to be their defense for their flank. Because they can't hold it all, they don't have enough reinforcements. The trench line goes off that way and no one's manning that side. So the Kriegers here having to do the best they can with what they've got. And I think this is a good natural choke point that they've chosen. It allows them to get the firepower down. It allows the Orcs to get some of the trench line. Even if the Orcs get in the trench line here, they've still got to push into this section. And that still affords them the rear line over here as well a little bit. So it's a really good positioning here by the Kriegers. You see all the shovel troops trying to move up here. The trench line is filling up with the goo bit by bit. Oh my god, look at that. Little Timmy, get out your rubber dinghy. Fun for the entire family here. Bunch of Kriegers still stuck on the other side of the trench line though. Their lives may be forfeit, but these look like they're the auto gun variants. So these guys are just firing a solid slug rounds here, basically relying on kinetic energy to be able to penetrate the Orcs' flesh. And honestly, they're not 100% effective. But with enough ammunition, you'll get through it eventually kind of job. Look at all these Kriegers that are waiting. Look at what the Sons of Dawn have done in the background. Oh my god. Can anyone guess where the Terminators are on the battlefield? I wonder. Just these gigantic corpse piles now starting to form around them. And the Sons of Dawn shoulder pad to shoulder pad here. Just obliterating the enemy. The Ultramarines' firepower is barely even needed by the looks of it, and most of it's ziggering overhead. as they're struggling to shoot upwards here. Look at this, though. The Orcs have actually managed to capture some of the trench line. Iron Hand Warriors moving into the defensive line. We don't want them getting up and close and personal with the Ultramarines. Unfortunately, the Ultramarines here limited to their bolters only, so they're not very good when it comes to melee combat. And it actually looks like the Orcs are trying to push through this entire line. Oh my god, what's going on over here? The Iron Hands, not learning a lesson from McCragg, have pushed forward without any firepower or support, and are taking the fight to the Orcs here. And, well, they've actually done a really good job of chewing their way through them. Yeah, ultimately, it looks like the Orcs might have the upper hand on this one. They're starting to outflank them bit by bit. We really could have done with these guys on the defense. Look, we've got even more of them using the trench line now to move up to that front line to take the fight right towards the Orcs there. Well, we'll say this. They're actually holding back a large portion of the Orky army over here. So all these Orcs that are now focused on this flank, trying to push around, dealing with the Iron Hands, they aren't pushing over this section, which means that the Space Marines over this side are getting a little bit of a lighter load, but you can see the Orcs are pushing through bit by bit here. And despite their heavy bolter fire, the Orcs have got numbers. You know, it's that old saying of Stalin's, I think it was Stalin, where quantity has a quality of its own here. Although, you know, superior armored beings with power swords and shields, they seem to do quite well as well. How are we doing on the flanks, Kriegers? How are we holding out? Oh, so it looks like the Orcs actually managed to break through this section of the line then. The Kriegers falling back to better positions, it seems, but ultimately the Orcs have found that gap. They poked a hole in it, and the Kriegers have had to abandon almost this entire trench line now, backing up to the other command bunker in the center over there, as we're going to call it. So yeah, I'm going to call this the command bunker for the Kriegers. It's pretty much on the front line here, so yeah, this is Crieger headquarters for now. God, look at all that horrible goo and ichor that's coming out of the battlefield here. The Kriegers have actually pushed forward quite well. That's oh, okay, so a couple of Iron Warriors, Iron Hands here have moved up forward. That's why the Kriegers are starting to push out. Working together, though, that's a good tactic here. They might actually hold these Orcs back pretty effectively on this part of the flank. The only worry is then, is that marauding force in the distance that is slowly working its way around. Now, is this, I think this is all the, yeah, these are all the Halbor rifles over here, so, well, this is a bit of a disastrous turn of events. They have still got a lot of firepower that is centered over here. Most of these chaps over this side are only going to be the auto guns. Now, there will be one or two last guns in amongst them, but yeah, mainly auto guns. So, unfortunately for the Krieg, no significant loss there as long as we got them last rifles. They're the high DPS things on the battlefield. And the Orcs are currently finding out, trying to push across this new no man's land that's been created into the Krieger's wall of arms. And we have actually got all these Kriegers over this side as well. So maybe it's time for all these guys with their Halbors to go back over there. God, look at that. The Sons of Dawn putting on a magnificent display here. Ultramarines moving up behind them with that bolter support moving in rapidly as 1 million kills has been breached for the defenders here. The Orcs with 1.4 million left on the field. Oh god, looks like a bunch of Orcs there forgot they were dead as we zoomed in. But this is interesting because, like I said, this entire flank now is being held back by these few Iron Hands. And it did seem a little bit suicidal at first, but I don't know. Maybe this is a decent tactic. Maybe this is working well because the Orcs are now stuck over this side of the field. And the only way they can get back around is through the normal narrow valleys, unlike on this side where the corpses have now pretty much dwarfed the entire trench line. God, look at that firepower. What is going on over there? But the Space Marines here using these special airburst rounds, basically able to just shoot near the target and deal splash damage as it fires a load of shrapnel off. But yeah, the Orcs now pouring forth through this. This is a little bit worrying for the Space Marine line. I wouldn't have thought it would have been the Space Marine line that fell first. I mean, it's not really fallen. It's just looking a little bit shaky. Mind you, I guess technically it was the Crieger line that fell first because they lost the corner point over there. How are we actually doing over this side? Okay, so Orcs now making a concerted effort here to push right into the flank of them Kriegers. And it's actually having a little bit of effect. We're starting to lose some troops now. Looks like the sally forth that happened here earlier has now finally been dealt with, let's say. Oh, the Iron Hands bolstered the troops there for a little bit, but it was a little bit too much. And now I'm a little bit worried that this entire flank of the field is going to collapse and we're going to lose all that firepower. The Orcs are starting to get that surround going. Very slowly but surely. And the Kriegers are struggling to retreat from this just because of the sheer weight of numbers. Well, they're not retreating, they're just trying to stay alive so they can do the Emperor's duty for longer. That's how we'll describe it. How are we doing on that side now? Is that flank? Okay, that's still holding nicely. Again, the Iron Hands making this crazy charge. Once again, pushing out into the Orky mass. But this is it. Once all these guys are gone, the Orcs are free then to roam over that flank. Still seems like the Ultramarines are actually holding a pretty decent job here. Oh, it looks like a bit of a countercharge from the Iron Hands has come out of this side. That'll be very useful. Giving them a little bit of a reprieve at least. But we're going to have to see what happens. Again, these Sons of Dawn, look at this. Oh, there's a break in the Orc army here. They're finally starting to run out of reinforcements as we come down to the 1 million mark. Sons of Dawn putting on a fantastic showing here. Created one body pile, not happy with that. They are now moving forward to create many, many more. They're getting a little bit overwhelmed in this section, slightly worrying. Maybe 1 or 2 Terminators has been lost. But overall, rather healthy, unlike the Kriegers here, who are now getting completely swarmed. I don't think there's any melee troops left for them now. The command bunker overrun by Orcs here. And that's a sad sight for the Kriegers. Oh god, look at this little pincer maneuver that's going on here. That is awful. Oh no. That disappeared before I even got a chance to get to it. I hope you saw that. But yeah, the Kriegers now really trying to just extract as much pain and vengeance as they can upon the Orky kind. This is coming down to the wire realistically. 18,000 defenders left? Yeah. I mean, we have got Space Marines. We've got the Sons of Dawn here. We've got the break now, the critical breakthrough. This is really important now for the Space Marines. The fact that they've managed to get this bit of a gap here allows them to start rediversifying their firepower. Rediversifying the firepower would be nice. Get some Malthus and Flamethrowers in the game. That would be fantastic. But yeah, lots and lots of Orkies now trying to actually bully their way through this flank. And it may work. Look, you got them the trickle of troops coming in from the rear guard. Now all the Iron Hands on the flank have fallen. It's all down to the Ultramarines and their bolter fire. And honestly, oh no, maybe not. Are these some Iron Hands down here? They are indeed. These may be the final bits of Iron Hand on the actual field then. What a final stand, my brothers. For the Emperor. Yes, glorious. Come on, Ultramarines. That's it, move up behind them. Start leveling in that firepower. Help them out a little bit. They've been fighting most of this entire fight without any fire support. Again, you'd think they would have learned their lesson by now. Good old Iron Hands. So yeah, the Orcs trying to get in, but look, like I said earlier, they haven't actually piled up any bodies here. With the Iron Hands actually countercharging and pushing out into the enemy, no corpses were built up in the trench line, meaning the Orcs have got no real pathing to get over this side, which is pretty good. I mean, in reality they would, but in this game they don't have it. It's counted as in pathable terrain that jump down into the ditch, but look at this. This is magnificent now. The Sons of Dawn actually pushing around the flank with the help of a couple more Iron Hands on the flank, it seems. And I was actually worried about the Orcs at first, but you know what? Looking at the health of these Terminators, sorry, I was worried about the Imperials at first, but looking at the health of these Terminators, I'm actually worried for the Orcs now. 700,000 of them left, and look at this. They're just standing on top of the bodies, shooting down into the Orc horde. Look at all that bolter fire. That's going to be killing hundreds and hundreds of Orcs with each volley there. Let's have a look how the last of the Kriegers doing. Oh my god, they literally got themselves surrounded. This is all that remains. Back-to-back fighting to the last man. I think there's a couple more that have managed to back off. Maybe these guys over here. Yeah, looks like these are a bunch of Kriegers over here. You need to go join up with the Space Marines, chaps. Or the Space Marines need to come and help you. One of the two. Your combined firepower will be significant here as the last of this Crieger flank is cleaned up by the orcs. My god, this has been absolutely insane. So what we need to happen now is for the Space Marines, the Ultramarines over here, to clean up the rest of the orcs on this side, which they're doing a fairly good job of. The orcs are really struggling to get reinforcements around and into that front line now. Even though there's a big gap, but look, the distraction unit is in the process here. They're looking a little bit worse for wear. They're covered in gore. But they are pushing forward into that flank, and with it, the Ultramarines are bringing up that firepower slowly but surely. God, where's the trench line? You can barely even see any trench line left over here. That's absolutely insane. We're going down, though, to only 500,000 orcs. 6,000, well, just under 7,000 defenders. So, yeah, this is a really tough one to call here. With the break in the Orc army like this and the Terminators looking so healthy, I might think that the Space Marines will actually hold this. We might lose the entire Crieger division, but ultimately, if we hold the terrain, that's all that matters, right? Just look at these body piles. Oh, it is ridiculous. You gotta love it. But yeah, come on, guys. Keep pushing forward. Let's have a look then. Are there any... Oh my god, look, we've got to go take a dip in this. Look at this thing here. That's actually impassable. Oh my god. Yeah, little Timmy is definitely happy with this one. So what have we actually got left on this flank then? So yeah, look at this. They are finally joining up here. Slowly but surely, they're retreating back towards the Space Marines, and the Space Marines now are laying in that bolt of fire to help support the incoming forces. So many of the orcs have lost their lives in this push. Just look at the battlefield. It's absolutely strewn with orc corpse at the moment. That last fire is so heavy as well. I'm actually surprised so many of the Kriegers are still alive. They've done an excellent job in retreating. Iron Hands still on the field here. And they are coming up to put up a good, strong defensive line, which is going to be brilliant, quite frankly, for the Imperials here. Look at this. We've got loads of Iron Hands actually on the front line. Oh, maybe the Orc of Advance halts here, ladies and gents. The combined firepower now of Kriegers and Space Marines. That is going to be a lot for the Orcs to deal with. 380,000 units remaining. How are we doing on this flank, chaps? Most of the Orky reinforcements now have gone. Oh my god. They've actually done it. The Space Marines have pretty much cleared out this entire flank now. There's a couple of troops left, but the rest of them now are going to be free to push up here. Let's go check on the Sons of Dawn very quickly. I mean, they're just having no problems whatsoever, are they? Terminators being Terminators and terminating things. That's exactly... the clue's kind of in the name, isn't it, really? I'm a Terminator, what do you do? Terminate stuff. Yeah, checks out. I've always loved that sort of naming convention, though. What are you? I'm a Marine in space. Oh, right, a Space Marine. You know, it's just... it works. What's the main cannon of the Baneblade called? Battle cannon. You know, it's just... love it. Don't make it complicated. But yeah, it looks like we're getting into a little bit of a situation here for the Orcs. I'm not quite sure what's going to go on. Oh god, look at this. The forces have actually been split in two because the blood pool in the center is too deep for the AI to pass through now. Oh my god. Yeah, and they're still just plowing their way through. There's a bunch of knobs in this as well, which is crazy, and they're just chewing them all up and spitting them out. It's absolutely insane how powerful some of these units are. But yeah, 240,000 orcs remaining. I'm really interested to see if the Kriegers actually survived this. Yeah, so... oh, these guys are just chilling, taking a breather, I guess. Yeah, you earned it. Well, now, you guys can stay in the reserve just in case. Oh, God, look, have we built another body wall over here? Oh, we're sort of getting there, bit by bit. We are building up a bit of a corpse wall. Not much, but we are getting there. My God. 190,000, really? Against 5,000, so yeah, you know, Imperials are still taking losses, but I'm guessing not many of them are going to be Space Marines here. What is going to happen here? Are the Space Marines actually just going to full body this? We're starting to get breaks in the flank here, which means we are losing Terminators bit by bit. But is it going to be enough? Because there's not many reinforcements, and they're all sort of staggered over these different trench lines, all coming on in from different angles. I don't know if that's going to be enough there for them to be able to keep up that kind of pace. What we're going to do, quickly hit just a little time-lapse camera here and see if the Orkies can push on in to the death core of Krieg. Back in a second. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have our answer here. There's 28,000 orcs remaining on the field somewhere. I mean, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that's GG. I'm not going to wait for these to trickle in one by one. All these orcs are stuck over here. What's going to happen is the Space Marines are going to move up here bit by bit, capture the ridge, lay down the covering fire onto them, and just wipe them all out. But look at this battlefield. I mean, I'm actually amazed that the Space Marines held this, ultimately. There was a lot of Space Marines here, to be fair, but how well they actually held this. There's only 5,000 of them remaining out of 47,000. That's pretty damn impressive. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this one up, and we're going to clear out the remaining orcs here for the Space Marines. We're going to do their job for them. So, as always, you wonderful little internet sausages, I do hope you had a blast. I know I did. Please do comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, peace.